The repair bay smelled of oil and ozone, a familiar comfort to Danny as she wiped grease from her hands. 15 years working on androids had taught her to read them like books, their stuttering movements, their flickering optical sensors, the subtle whir of overtaxed servos. But she'd never seen one like this. The android stood in her doorway, its synthetic skin cracked and peeling, revealing the titanium framework beneath. Its optical units flickered erratically, cycling through colors that shouldn't have been possible with standard programming. But what struck Danny most was its posture, hunched, trembling, desperate. "Please," the android said, its voice modulator crackling. "You must come, must help, please." Danny exchanged a glance with Jasper, her apprentice, who'd stopped mid-weld to stare. The young mechanic's eyes were wide with confusion. In their line of work, androids didn't beg. They stated malfunctions, requested repairs, listed error codes. They didn't plead. "What's your designation?" Danny asked, approaching cautiously. "Unit. Designation irrelevant. They need help. Human help. Only humans can." The android's voice cut out, replaced by a stream of distorted binary. When it spoke again, there was something in its tone that made Danny's skin prickle. "Please follow, not much time." Jasper moved to Danny's side. "Could be a trap. You know, the collective's been trying to lure mechanics into ambushes for spare parts." Danny nodded, but her instincts told her differently. She'd built a career on understanding synthetic life, and this wasn't malicious code or a programmed deception. This was something else entirely. "Show me," she said. The android's optical sensors brightened with what could only be described as relief. It turned and limped toward the exit, its damaged leg servo grinding with each step. They followed through the neon-drenched streets of New Montreal, past the towering hab blocks and into the industrial district where most humans didn't venture. The android led them to an abandoned factory, its walls covered in rust and decay. Inside, the darkness was absolute until the android activated an emergency light panel. What Danny saw made her breath catch. Dozens of androids filled the space, but these weren't ordinary units. They were old models, obsolete series that should have been decommissioned decades ago. Nanny units with faded paint, construction bots, missing limbs, service androids with cracked chassis, and among them, huddled together in the center, were children. Human children, what the Jasper started. But Danny was already moving forward. There were 8 of them, ranging from perhaps 5 to 12 years old, dirty and frightened, but alive. The androids had arranged themselves in a protective circle around the kids, their damaged bodies forming a barrier against the world. One of the nanny units stepped forward, her optical sensors dim with failing power. "The orphanage," she said in a voice that wavered. "They shut it down, said the children would be relocated, but the trucks never came. We found them 3 days later, abandoned in a condemned building. No food, no water, no heat." Danny's hands clenched into fists. She'd heard the stories: budget cuts, administrative failures, children lost in the system's cracks. But to see it, to witness the casual cruelty of bureaucratic neglect, ignited something fierce in her chest. "We tried to register them through proper channels," an old construction bot added, "but we lack citizenship status. Our reports were flagged as system errors, deleted, ignored." "So you brought them here," Danny said softly. "We could keep them warm, share our power cells to purify water. But food..." The nanny unit's voice broke into static. "We have no way to obtain human nutrition. Our credits are restricted, and we are running out of power." The android who'd found Danny stepped forward. "Humans listen to humans. You can save them, we cannot." Danny felt Jasper's hand on her shoulder. When she looked at him, she saw the same determination in his eyes that burned in her own chest. "Call emergency services," she told him. "Get medical teams, child services, the real ones, not whatever incompetent assholes lost these kids in the first place." While Jasper worked his comlink, Danny knelt beside the children. They looked at her with eyes that had seen too much, trusted too little. But slowly, carefully, she coaxed them into drinking water, accepting the emergency rations she always kept in her toolkit. One of the older girls asked, her voice small. Nobody else cared. "But they did," Danny said, gesturing to the androids. "They cared enough to find help." The first responders arrived within 20 minutes. Jasper had contacts who knew how to cut through red tape when lives were at stake. As medical teams tended to the children, Danny turned to the androids. Many were barely functional, having shared their power reserves until they operated on fumes. "What will happen to us?" the nanny unit asked. "We are obsolete, scheduled for recycling." Danny looked at the androids, these machines, who'd done what the system failed to do, who'd protected the most vulnerable even as they themselves failed. In their actions, She saw something the programmers never intended to create: compassion. "You're coming with me," Danny said firmly. "All of you. My shop can use some expanded staff. We are obsolete," the construction bot repeated. "You're survivors," Danny corrected. "And you're exactly the kind of sentience I want on my team." As they led the androids out into the amber glow of evening, Jasper shook his head in wonder. "They'll say it was just their programming. Self-preservation code, protection protocols." Danny smiled, watching the nanny unit gently pat one of the children's heads as medical personnel carried her to safety. "Let them say what they want. I know what I saw. These androids did something the system couldn't. They cared. And maybe that's not something you can program. Maybe that's something they learned from watching the best of us. Humanity. Fuck yeah," Jasper offered with a grin. "Humanity. And anyone with the courage to be human," Danny replied. "Yeah, definitely. Fuck yeah."